wonder already. Listen, time and tide waits on no one, and like as I always say, but I, Jen, let's wait on my peeps. So while that is happening and I'm waiting, let me start this thing right. Sorry about that. You know, technology is sometimes. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Lorna. Hi, Sarah. Thank you all for this coming to hang out with me on the Wednesdays and Friday. I do appreciate it. People, we have some serious thing to talk about. Hi, Emmeline. Things, it takes 3 months, go there and. But before I go to that, let me say the pledge. I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of my God and my country. I'll honor my parents, my teachers, my leaders, my elders, and those in authority. I'll be clean and honest in all my thoughts, my words, and my deeds, and I'll strive in everything I do to work together with my fellow men of every creed and race for the great happiness of all and the honor and glory of my country. Hi, Christopher. Hi, Erica. I see that the president, Her Excellency Christine Kala Kangaloo, or LTT, she delivered a featy address at the launch of the President Pan Camp 2025. And the 5-day camp brings together 25 young people with no prior experience playing the steel pan and seeks to transpose the core principles of teaching steel pan and in the panyard into a holistic learning experience. I understand. Hi, Keith. Hi, Charles. I understand that the president would have invited, if I'm not mistaken, the Minister of, is it Culture? I think it is. Whichever one it is will fall under that type of activity. And I understand that the minister, whomever he or she may be, was a no-show. I hope it is because the minister may have not been feeling well or out the country or something of that sort. Because I would hate to think that the reason that he or she did not go to give support in this for the young people, because just heard the Prime Minister come up as Abisessa speaking about how she cared about young people. And these are young people, 25 of them in a pan camp, a steel pan camp. But then again, you know the topic of the steel pan, because up to now we can't see the new coat of arms that has the steel pan on it. And we knew the conversation before there's some of them in, like the idea of the steel pan being the national instrument. They had a problem with removing the 3 ships from Columbus, despite the fact that Columbus brought to this side of the world disease and torture and mutilations and genocide to the first peoples. But they said, I will history. Don't take it off the coat of arms. So as I was saying, so Her Excellency had this initiative for 25 young persons who have never played steel pan before, teaching them in the panyard. I want to congratulate her. But again, the UNC, in my opinion, continues to show they're not about nation and nation building. So this is a perfect opportunity for the children the young people who the Prime Minister said that she cares about the children to go there. But then again, they say Her Excellency is a PNM, so probably they don't want to be around anything that is PNM. Just saying. But congratulations to Madam President on that initiative. I just want to play a little part of this as history. And I wonder if the persons of Indian descent in this country knows about this history. I'm just going to play a part of it. I won't be able to play the whole thing just now. Okay. So this had to do with, it's called Black Pass, P-A-S-T, B-L-A-C-K, Black Pass. Who are the CDs? A brief introduction to the 800-year African experience in Africa. This was written February 13, 2024, contributed by John McLeod, and it says here, if you were to watch them, you would not think that they are from India. Yeah. So it says here, the following article, University of Louisiana historian John McLeod surveys illustrative episodes in a long history of cities or African Indians of African ancestry dating back to the 13th century. Although I'm going to say what it is again, so one of them who they don't like African people. So this article traces the African Indians or Indians of African ancestry dating back to the 13th century. There have been people of African descent in the Indian subcontinent for centuries. Some scholars believe that the Harappans or Indus people, who in the 3rd millennium BCE created one of the world's first urban civilizations in what is now Pakistan and northwestern India, were of African origin. Whatever the identity of the Harappans or millennia, ships sailing to the Indian Ocean linked East Africa and India. Often their goal was trade, and the existence of flourishing commerce is confirmed by the discovery in southern India of 4th century CE coins that were minted in the kingdom of Akum in present-day Aksum or Aksum in present-day Ethiopia. Sometimes African traders settled in India in the state of Gujarat in western India. There is the tomb of a Muslim holy man called Baba, Father Gaur. So it's Baba Gaur, that means father. He is said to have been a merchant from Africa who arrived in the 7th century. To this day, Indians of African descent worship at the tomb and at other shrines dedicated to Baba Gaur. The continuous documented history of African Indians goes back to the 13th century when an Ethiopian named Jamal ad-Din Yaquat was a noble at the courts of Queen Razia of Delhi, at that time the most powerful Muslim state in northern India. It is sometimes said that the Yaquat and the Yazia were lovers, but this story appears only to have emerged in modern times. Like Baba Gaur, some Africans came to India as merchants, others were soldiers or travelers. Many were enslaved and were brought to India between the 15th and 17th centuries by Muslim and Portuguese slave traders. In Muslim-ruled kingdoms of medieval India, particularly in the southern regions known as the Deccan, enslaved Africans filled roles ranging from palace maids to military officers and royal confidants. Africans in Goa, Dior, and other Portuguese settlements in India were often in domestic service. It is interesting to note when they speak about Africans selling Africans into enslavement, that you see it is not the same type of enslavement, chattel slavery that happened in the Caribbean, because if you realize, they said that the enslaved Africans who were sold into slavery in India, they were palace maids, military officers, royal confidants, or domestic service. Yeah, it is saying nothing about being whipped and considered less than a human being. Today, there are an estimated 300,000 people of African origin in the Indian subcontinent. They include substantial populations in the Makran regions of Pakistan, including the port city of Gwadar, which was part of the Empire of Oman, Zanzibar, and then of Oman until 1958. The Indian states of Gujarat and Hara Pradesh and Karnataka, and the Indian cities of Delhi, Kolkata and Mumbai, Bombay. African Indians were long known as Habshi, Arab for Assyrian, Ethiopian. Today, the most common designations are variants to the word Sidi, including Sidi or Shidi. There are several explanations for the origin of this word, and it's most likely that it was derived from the Arabic Sayyidi, my lord. In the 16th century, Indians, aristocrats of all races, were often called Sidi. By the 17th century, the word was increasingly confined to aristocrats of African origins. For example, Sidi Masood, who in the 1670s was the prime minister of the kingdom of Bijapur in southern India, as well as a noted art collector. In the 18th century, the term was coming into use for anyone of African descent, not necessarily aristocratic. The sense in which it is used today. Many Indians today pronounce the word as Shidi, which the ancient Sanskrit language conveys the concept of fulfillment of success. African Indians have enriched the subcontinent in many ways. Spectacular buildings, now some in ruins and some in act, were built by African Indians. One of the most famous is the Sidi Said Mosque in the western Indian city of Ahmedabad, which is characterized by windows covered with elaborately carved stone screens. The mosque was built in the 16th century by Sheikh Saad, the Assyrian, that is Ethiopian, who was brought to India as a slave and later became a distinguished military commander and Islamic scholar. African contribution to Indian music range from the distinctive music performed for the Ramial dance in honor of Bavagor to African Americans who introduced jazz to Indian influenced Teddy Weatherford, who was a band leader at the leading hotel in Mumbai in 1930s, eventually becoming one of the roots of modern Hindi film music. African Indians are also depicted in a wide range of classical court paintings that was sponsored by Muslims and Hindu kings and nobles in India between 16th and 20th centuries. One of the most famous court paintings was commissioned by the Mughal Emperor Jahangir, who ruled much of India from 1605 to 1627. It was painted by Abu al-Hassan, one of India's greatest artists. The painting depicts Jahangir shooting an arrow through the decapitated head of his seedy enemy, Malik Ambar. What is interesting is that the painting depicts Jahangir fantasy rather than reality. The Mongol emperor fought against Malik Ambar for many years, but far from being captured and killed by Jahangir, the Sidi died in his own bed in 1626, a decade after the painting was completed. So this was a little, there's more, but I'll leave it at that. The importance of reading this is for us to understand our history. And sometimes some people of Indian descent apparently don't understand the history. Because again, I will keep saying, We have always said we came from kings and queens and royalty, and this here would have again contributed to what I have been saying, just as when I spoke about the Ashanti who came to Trinidad about 3 years ago during African Emancipation Day. But what is interesting, that a lot of Pakistan were inhabited, by Africans from Ethiopia. So we have been there, we would have been kings, we would have been military personnel, we would have been confidant to royal people, we would have been emperors, we would have built architecture, our work and all that. So people of Indian descent, some of them need to know the history, and this conversation they want to have as if African people is nothing, and African people never had nothing, and African people just know to be slave and be master with. That is not true. There are some aspects of our history that will speak to that, but there are other parts of our history before enslavement, like the 13th century, Africans in India coming straight down, tells another story. So people of Indian descent, I urge you to go and read, expand your knowledge, and understand at the end of the day, we are all one people. Yeah? Okay, so let me continue. So I am saying that no other. Hi, Philo. Hi, Rosemary. Hi, Michelle, Nicole Robinson, hyphen, Donatian, Papa. Hi, Arlene. Hi, Listra. Hi, Owen. Well, not easy as your whole name. Nearly take up the whole screen. The damn right is yours. So I'm seeing here, peoples, that, hi, Malcolm. Ramnarine promises refinery report in 4 months. And who Ramnarine I'm speaking about? Kevin Ramnarine. When was this? Guardian newspaper yesterday. What refinery? The refinery out in Petrotrin. Remember, it comes from we'll open the refinery till we will look at it. We will look at it and see if it is feasible. So they have a committee in place, and who has it? Kevin Ramnarine. So let me just read a little, and then I'll tell Oli a little more about Kevin Ramnarine. Government will know within 4 months whether the Petrotrin refinery in Pointe-à-Pierre can be restarted and what the cost of doing so will be. This was the promise yesterday from former Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine, who is heading a committee set up to determine the feasibility to reopening the refinery. The committee that was selected by the cabinet is vastly experienced, and I thank them for coming forward to serve in this important exercise. Ramnarine told Guardian Media of the team he has to work on the assignment. In a nutshell, the mandate is really to provide a technical assessment of the state of Pointe-à-Pierre refinery and let me read that. In a nutshell, the mandate is really to provide a technical assessment of the state of the Pointe-à-Pierre refinery and what its restart would require. That is how it is printed. I didn't print it like that. Ramnarine pointed out that the refinery has been mothballed since 2018, and its closure has had a major impact on the country's economy, its energy security, and its position in the region. Moreover, he emphasized that the fallout has had a significant impact on South Trinidad, the workers and the contracting companies, the contracting communities that supported the refinery operation. On the possible date of a restart and the cost, Ramnarine said these things would be determined when the work of the committee was completed and submitted to the cabinet for consideration. With the company losing billions annually, the former PNM, People's National Movement government, shut the refinery down, leaving more than 3,500 permanent and 1,200 non-permanent workers unemployed. What he put in that money was given to them via VSEP. He will talk with that part. Repercussions were felt beyond the refinery gates in surrounding communities like Gasperillo, Claxton Bay via business closure and job losses. I will come to that because we could link that now to the experience that is happening with the 10,500 CPEP workers. I will come to that. But them is nobody, so you don't have to include them in nothing, but we will bring them because they are somebody. In February, Oando PLC, a Nigerian company, was selected as the preferred bidder to take over the refinery under the last government. But the current United National Congress administration repeatedly stated during the general election campaign that it would work with the Oilfield Workers Trade Union to restart the refinery operation. A High Court ruling recently found that the OWTU and its associate company, Patriot Energies and Technologies, were liable for over $4 million in loans to secure it secured for its bid to acquire the refinery after it was closed. In a recent interview with Guardian Media, energy expert and former energy minister Karen Sipasad Bechan said there is a need for a reputable international investor to reopen Point-A-Pierre refinery. She said she believed in the reopening of the refinery. She believed that the reopening of the refinery should have been a collaborative approach and one that involved regulatory oversight with private sector investors. Bear in mind that if you have to approach the international financial market for debt financing, they are going to want to look for some form of equity financing, even if it is as much as 10 to 15% of that total financial capital outlay, which we expect to be about $1 billion, Sipasad Bechan said. So, OWT owing its investor or who they borrow money from when they was bidding for the refinery, $4 million. Hey, Lord Father. Kevin Ramnarine, who, in my opinion, I give an opinion here, is fronting, this is my opinion, as this big energy man. Based on things that would have happened with his career that I know about in terms of being recorded, I don't see how anybody does take him serious. That's just my opinion. That same Kevin Ramnarine, in 2023, in Quieter News, it says, Guyana paid ex-TNT Energy Minister $20,000 to prepare aimless roadmap for gas monetization. Former Trinidad and Tobago Minister of Energy Kevin Ramnarine was paid some $20,000 to prepare the widely discredited Guyana's draft national gas monetization strategy. In 2021, the TNT Energy Minister, Stuart Young, accused his predecessor, Kevin Ramnarine, of jeopardizing the country's gas industry with a questionable deal. However, Ramnarine had defended the project, a $900 million petrochemical complex with Japanese firm, citing job creation and future positive cash flow. Young had criticized the lopsided provisions, debt issue, and preferential gas reserve policies. Guyana is actively pursuing the use of natural gas in the Liza 1 and Liza 2 field for the gas to energy, the GTE project. ExxonMobil Guyana will fund a 12-inch pipeline for transporting the resource to Wales, where a national gas liquid NGL plant will treat and separate the gas for use in the power plant. On Monday, October the 30th, the government of Guyana, GOG, through the Ministry of National Resources, MNR, unveiled the draft strategy for public consultation. The ministry has stated that the gas strategy is part of a pivotal roadmap for managing the nation's significant gas resources, and it also serves as a vital tool for Guyana to make informed decisions regarding the utilization of its gas resources. However, From an analysis of the document, it is evident that the strategy leaves much to be desired in terms of concrete, achievable steps for gas monetization. In fact, during a recent press conference, Vice President Barajagdio, who previously expressed enthusiasm about the strategy, conceded that there are several known issues with the 43-page strategy before labeling the document as a discussion paper. This publication understands that Ramnarine is responsible for the draft strategy, collective feedback, as well as incorporating it into the final document. Quieter News had highlighted that since the start of Guyana's gas oil industry, Ramnarine had been advising on Guyana's local content initiative, as well as its eminent gas to energy project set to cost US $2 billion. He was also part of the nation's local content panel, which was commissioned in 2020 by President Ifran Ali. Citizens analyzed the document Ramnarine prepared for the 2-week period. It is essential to remember that ongoing exploration and appraisal activities are still underway. To determine the full extent of Guyana's gas reserve, this uncertainty adds an extra layer of complexity to the monetization strategy. The fact of the matter is, Guyana paid him, same Kevin Ramnarine, who is going to give a report to the government on the reopening of the refinery. That same Kevin Ramnarine, the same one who cost this country US $9 million in a petrochemical deal with Japanese firm that was very lopsided, that when the PNM government came into office, they had to go to Japan to treat with that, otherwise this country would have to pay back that $9 million US one time. And because of the intervention of Dr. K. Christopher Rowley carrying along with him Minister Stuart Young, we were averted from that. That same Kevin Ramnarine, who wrote up a report for Guyana that they say is an aimless map to nowhere really. But he's expert. Let me continue, yes? I am seeing, how are you? That this one would have been hilarious if it wasn't so tragic and so funny. But in my opinion, that is how the UNC runs things. Incompetency, again, I'm giving my opinion, is at its highest. Mediocrity at its highest. A general malaise, a general sense they're not interested in Trinidad and Tobago as a whole, but more about self and party. Those are opinions I give, and that is how the UNC seems to govern. Excuse me. So this was yesterday in The Guardian. I'm speaking about Khadija Amin, Minister of Rural Development. Amin project plan stalls without property tax funds. This was in The Guardian. It's a Keyshawn Haynes story. It says, last Tuesday, senior officials from municipal corporations, both United National Congress and People's National Movement controlled, were summoned to a meeting with Rural Development and Local Government Minister Khadija Amin, where she attempted to devise a strategy to get intended projects off the ground. In this closed-door meeting, and amid the recent firing of thousands of community-based environmental protection and enhancement programs, CPEP, and forestry workers, Minister Amin reportedly urged mayors and chairmen, CEOs, treasurers, financial officers, and engineers to move swiftly on short-term employment projects to, as she puts it, help the people on the ground. Multiple sources from the corporation confirmed the details of that meeting to Guardian Media. Guardian Media has learned that the mechanism offered to execute these projects is a line item on the national budget, vote 02/001/48, officially titled Special Programs in Cities, Boroughs, and Regional Corporations. According to the official budget description, that vote is not intended for hiring staff. It explicitly excludes personnel-related costs and minor equipment purchases. It's meant for non-staff related expenses tied to special programs. Vote 02/001/48 currently has no funds, and it won't receive money anytime soon because the revenue that it was tied to, the property tax, has been scrapped. The 135 million in property tax already collected from citizens is now sitting in the consolidated fund out of the reach of the corporation it was meant to support. The property tax was intended to be collected through Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority, TTRA, as part of a broader tax collection system. However, with the TTRA now repealed, the funding mechanism is gone. The TTRA was repealed before any of the revenue it had collected could be routed back to the vote it was originally tied to, leaving regional corporations with no access to the millions collected. As a result, regional corporations are falling short. Regional corporations are facing shortfalls in their goods and services budgets, with the extent of the shortfall varying from one corporation to another. A UNC official who was privy to the meeting but asked to remain anonymous explained that in theory, had property tax and the TTRA remained operational a bit longer, it might have been possible to move from collection to disbursement, which would have allowed corporations to access the funding tied to the vote 02/001/48. Despite this, local government bodies were then encouraged to consider using another allocation. However, even if they wanted to, the process isn't simple. Redirecting funds from one vote to another, which is called a virement, requires multiple levels of approval from the Corporation Council, the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, and eventually the Ministry of Finance. However, that process could be lengthy and would defeat the purpose of the short-term employment boost the minister hopes to achieve. Contacted on the issue, Port of Spain Mayor Chinua Allen said his corporation had already tried to repurpose the funds but was denied. I raised the questions of the transfer of our allocation from the line item that was to be funded by property tax to other areas such as uniform or materials and supplies, as the process to collect property tax has been scrapped by the government. These funds represent 15% of our allocation for goods and services, so it is quite significant. We had applied to transfer the allocations during the mid-year review, but it was not approved, Allen explained. We will apply for the transfer again, and based on the minister's assurances during the meeting, we are hopeful that the approval will be granted so that we can continue to expand our services through the end of the financial year. Shoguana's Mayor Farouk Mohammed, meanwhile, defended the minister's approach, describing Amin as simply thinking out loud while attempting to generate ideas to stimulate short-term employment. So what she did, she asked corporations as well to give her ideas like projects, programs, or initiatives, to email her programs and initiatives, Mohammed said. So I am thinking, like, I know we have a big pothole crisis in the country. So she said, so Shoguanas, I will be looking to do a massive pothole eradication. Look, let me read no more of this. The bottom line is this. There was a meeting, and at that meeting, there was conversations to hire short-term employment, because I guess all the flag they're getting for firing 10,500 CPEP workers. I don't know, it may be that the corporation hire back people on short-term. And there's no money in the corporations because the money that was collected through the TTRA that should have gone to the corporation, because the UNC scrap and repeal everything, that money going into the consolidated fund. So it's right back to central government again. And the vote, not vote with a hand, but vote, let's call it a vote, where they could have gotten money from that vote if they had no money in that vote. And to get money put in that vote, you must set a red tape to get here and get here. It wouldn't make no sense. So Shoguna's mayor come out to defend she and what she say. And this is what they end up putting out as a release. With this thing. Just now again. I don't know why I'm getting into that. I don't know who is this man. I will look at him. Who is this? Oh, he must be the Mia Shogunas, the one who defended him. So this was in the Guardian 19 hours ago. Local government ministry says no project stall due to financing rules. The Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government has rejected claims that any project plans have stalled due to lack of property tax refunds. But while the ministry insists that municipal work is continuing, it offered no clarification on whether short-term jobs proposed during a recent meeting can proceed under existing budget rules or how they will be funded going forward. The primary objective of the meeting convened by the Honorable Cudjoe was to ensure that all municipal corporations were on track with their allocations and properly submitted funding requests. The ministry said in a release in response to a story in yesterday's paper's headline, Amin project plans stalled without property tax refund. Noting that the headline misrepresented the intent of the meeting, the ministry claimed that property tax was only briefly mentioned during the session. It added that the minister was also not relying on those funds to implement the initiative. Listen to me. This is my opinion on this whole thing. The corporations used to be complaining that they have to go to central government all the time to get money to do things within the corporation. I guess coming out of that, you would have the local government reform. When the PNM was there, they would have invited the UNC and all its councillors, come up as assessors, opposition leader, tell them don't go. And then we had the local government election. Excuse me. Then we had coming out of that, we had property tax being collected. We had the TTRA. And all this was to work work as one so that the corporations could get money. So if a corporation collected $20, I bring this so $20, that $20 was to use in that corporation for short-term employment, for this and all the things they want, so they don't have to depend on a budget from the government or for the government, central government, to give them anything. If another corporation collects $50, same way it is going to be used, because different corporations have different amount of burgesses living and different needs and all that. When this UNC scrapped property tax, the property tax couldn't go to the money couldn't go to no corporation because there's no law for it to go in the corporation. So that money collected had to go into the consolidated fund. And if the TTRA that was collecting these taxes to disperse them, if that no longer exists, whatever money collected, consolidated fund. So we back to square nothing, where corporation will have no money. The central government will just give what they could give or what they feel they should give, and the same old. So to give short-term employment, where they get any money from? So then I'm more inclined to believe the first report that I read, because then in the second report, she mentioned it. Where you mentioned property tax, so if it will not have an impact on the conversation. So look at fool people and shipping it now. All they went and did a boo-boo, and now we're in a position where all they fire 10,500 CPEP workers, all they get in the backlash, and only trying to study how all they could give them something. But my opinion is this, that all that talking about corruption and CPEP and corruption and that is simply to throw some light on PNM, the corruption and everybody eating on itself, but it's ready to bring in UNC people in the same slot. So they have to make a big scene. We're trying to, because you can't send them home just so. You have to say something, says corruption, corruption, corruption. And people say, yeah, boy, you really have to think it because it's corruption thing. And what? Make space to put them own people. Because as I listened to Mr. Marcel today, and he was very, I understood exactly what he's talking about. He used himself as an example. And this is something PNM people will be saying, oh, PNM activists are beating and PNM don't get the people nothing. And the activists working, okay. So your activists, they could do the work wherever you get a contract and you could hire people and you could do whatever it is. Something wrong in that? And if as a contractor, you could help support in an event that the party having or whatever the case may have. Is something wrong in that? It is and Steve Galbransing and all the UNC and them finances. So what is this big thing? Or they have these people talking about PNM and corruption and CPEP and all that, and nobody is saying nothing. Where's that about? When Kamala Persad became the prime minister in 2010, and she went and said about one of her friend's house, and then for how long she went and say that wasn't corruption? And then same friend didn't get a contract? That wasn't corruption? I just asking, and the favorite contractor get contracts? Who you want them to help? Once there's not no corruption involved, we want them to help. But my thing, just as Mr. Marcel, if they have evidence of corruption, take it to the police. But they always showing this tape and calling people name and calling this one name and have people watching people. Take it to the police or be calling up people name and all that. Take everything to the police and let the police do the work. But I feel, in my opinion, that just done deliberately. So you're looking at this one, I see they put up some man named Nigel Cotier or something. So if I'm not mistaken, some contract thing and this woman and that. What are they doing them thing for? When the PNM came into office, all them UNC and them had a contract still in CPEP and thing, they didn't send them home. They let them work out the contract. So what are they doing that now for? And the same PNM people who is out talking about PNM, don't get PNM people nothing. All they now watching PNM and say they do something wrong because they give PNM people something. Come now, man. You can't be half pregnant. If it's a corruption, take it to the blasted police. Let the police, the DPP, and them deal with that. In the absence of that, I go to IC. I think, in my opinion, this is just to make room for UNC contractors to come in and their own people to come in. Anyway, let me continue. Let me continue, Papa. I comment just not to this opposition PNM, you know. I comment to the opposition PNM. You mustn't say nothing. Don't talk. Don't say nothing. I'm seeing here Ramona Ramial, long time I hear from she. It was for 9 years. What? Where was, because what's it seem like you come on? Although, you see, Chris Watson don't answer them now. Sometimes I doesn't really block them and let us stay and show how they is asshole. Forgive my language. But you know that's the most of us go. Sometimes let them stay there and show themselves to be complete assholes. Dripping yellow. So Ramona Ramial would have written in The Guardian 20 hours ago, real change, not exchange. She said here the 49 CARICOM Heads of Government Conference held from July the 6th to the 8th in Jamaica was not attended by Prime Minister Persad. It would have been her first opportunity to reassert her brand of Trini woman power in the region since regaining the position she last held in 2015. Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs Sean Sobers and Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander substituted for her. Minister Sobers explained that the PM's absence was due to pressing national matters, but provided no details. Former Minister of Foreign Affairs Opposition Senator Amy Brown suggested that Trinidad and Tobago lost the opportunity to participate in a free movement arrangement devised by Barbados, Belize, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Caribbean heads of government signed the Montego Bay Declaration, which reinforced regional cooperation and intelligence sharing in combating transnational organized crime. The support of Interpol and OAS in the deliberations was a key takeaway in CARICOM's recommitment to the CSME, as well as regional security. Would our Prime Minister's absence be interpreted as a lack of interest in CARICOM or their new initiatives? Were the brand new ministers able to give adequate representation of our government's foreign and security policies? I believe the Prime Minister Petrotrin respects CARICOM. That is your opinion, Mona Ramial. And again, let's see how them does defend, no matter how bad Kamala Petrotrin is. Let's see how they do bad talk shit. If it's Dr. Rowley that do that, you hear all them who call all themselves Africans. You hear at the end of the day how she tiptoeing around Kamala Petrotrin and saying that she believe that Prime Minister respects CARICOM. Really? She didn't stand up in CARICOM to let them know that Trinidad and Tobago is not an ATM machine and Jamaica had to put all because of the shells. That respect. But I tell you, you see what does defend one another. Don't matter how bad it is, they don't bad talk. They don't bad talk in little quarters. But not we know, Somalia. I believe that Prime Minister Petrotrin respects CARICOM and she will have endorsed the Montego Bay Declaration. I'm also certain that she will repose confidence in her UNC deputy political leaders by selecting one of them to act as Prime Minister when next she has to advance TNT's standing in a global leadership forum. Ms. Ramona Ramial, with all due respect, all the good yes? All the good yes? Or let's still pushing this narrative and we will come up with this as if she's physically strong. Oh God, we have one who physically weak and one who, okay. In a return to the UNC Monday night's forum last week, PM Petrotrin, leader of the ruling United National Congress, announced that she will be calling elections for the position of political leader. That election is due in June according to the UNC Constitution. Its delay is understandable given the recent general elections and the subsequent setting in of a new UNC government. PM Petrotrin is the winning political leader and no one in their right mind will challenge her. As such, she will be re-elected unopposed. All they hear that? All they hear that? All they should take a page, all they who say all this PNM, some all they should take a page out of that kind of loyalty. However, we will have an idea about PM Petrotrin's succession planning when she next leaves the country. Perhaps she will stand again in GA 2030. It is doubtful that she will follow former PM Dr. Cudjoe losing playbook of foisting a successor outside of the internal party election. In the meantime, anyone interested in succeeding her as the leader of her party would be busy convincing the nation that they are the best PM and minister. You see how, no matter what, all of them that stand together again, here what she say, that Dr. Rowley foisted a successor outside of the internal election, party election. Dr. Rowley, in his the appointing of Stuart Young to carry on as the Prime Minister had nothing to do with an internal election. That had to do with the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago and the members of Parliament, which is two separate things. So whether he did hoist it in internal election or outside internal election will not make a difference because it's two different processes. But you see how them does operate? We must not forget that 100,000 would be PNM voters who are staying in the general election 2025. And I want to tell Ms. Ramona Ramial, although it is factual that 100,000 persons did not vote for the PNM, or suppose they didn't vote, just to get back into office, all they needed was 15,008 votes spread out across the 9 constituencies that they lost. And they would have been back in office. And that's why we tell you all, UNC just win by default. They didn't need 100,000 votes. Although 100,000 votes would have been, hey, good way. However, in terms of getting back into office, all they need is 15,008 votes. So we must not forget the 100,000 would be PNM voters who are staying in the general election 2025. I'm certain that the losing example of the deposed PNM leadership has taught a valuable lesson to the UNC. The UNC NATEX election are due next year, though. Now this will be far from more interesting. Now that would be a far more interesting proposition. The conversion of the UNC political leadership and NATEC's election in 2028 will be even more compelling. The UNC government must be aware of the renewed PNM and the sleeping 100,000, some of whom may have been stirred by the recent CPEP and forestry firing. In opposition, sometimes all that a political party does or can do is to plot the downfall of the government. Okay, so I will leave it at that. I ain't going into more. Right? So I basically Ramial, and in a subliminal way, big enough. In my opinion, Kamla Prasad sister still, she to me finds that Kamla Prasad sister, I believe, because she could believe that Kamla Prasad sister is ABCD, I believe that Ramona Ramdial at the end of the day talking to see if she could get back inside. So let me continue. I saw this and I said I was going to read it very quickly. Jeez, and it is by Leon Auguste. It says here, the crisis at the helm. The PNM today is adrift, rudderless, and hollowed out at the top. We are led by a generation of politicians swimming in the depth of their own egos, out of their depths, and dangerously out of touch with the moment we are in. They mistake titles for leadership, access for influence, silence for loyalty. But make no mistake, we are in a deep political and moral crisis. This is not a party of Williams or Chambers or Manning. Oh, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, I put him in that. This is a PNM overrun by a cabal of careerists and corrupt elites, small minds and high offices draining the soul of the movement that once stood for progress, discipline, and moral certainty. We are watching the decay from inside, and it's time to act. Not with more blind loyalty, not with more silence, but with a firm, unrelenting demand for vision, integrity, and a total reimagining of what the PNM must become to survive the next decade. The base is restless, the future is uncertain, and the truth is no longer optional. And this was from my mistake. This was from, because the two of them were so close, now the real PNM change makers, hashtag real PNM, hashtag change makers, hashtag vision over vibes. So that was that. The one by Lord Father is the next one. The other one I'm going to read is by Leonie Auguste. And it says here, title, This Ain't No Singing, This Is War. And this had to do with a response or article by Selwyn Cudjoe. And I want to ask Selwyn Cudjoe again, if he sing so sweetly, or must he out of tune, to get a position on cardboard and a stipend and free flights. So the person is responding to what Selwyn Cudjoe, in my opinion, said. Professor Cudjoe's latest column reads like a long defensive soliloquy, not from a man speaking truth to power, but from one speaking softly to his new benefactors. He invokes Bob Marley, the Bible, and Black struggle, not to challenge injustice, but to justify his place at the table. A man once known for standing firm now asks the rest of us to forget what real resistance looks like. If Cudjoe wants to quote Marley, he ought to start with war, not cornerstone. Until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, everywhere is war. This song was inspired by the speech given by Emperor Haile Selassie at the United Nations in 1963, where he warned, "It is us today, it will be you tomorrow." Selassie pleaded for global justice against oppression, emphasizing that injustice anywhere threatens justice everywhere. His message was a call for solidarity, not silence. Compare that to the UNC government recent dismissal of 20,000 workers terminated without cause, without explanation, without recourse. How can a government claim moral leadership while violating basic rights due to process on such a scale. This is not progress, it is regression. War, not polite silence when your friends are in charge. War, not excuses wrapped in scholarships and scriptures. War, not hiding behind racial unity while benefiting from political favor. This isn't about singing for supper. Then say it plainly. You received a board appointment under this new administration for what really? You demand transparency from others, yet offer none yourself. And comparing your perks to the PNM historical excesses doesn't cleanse your conscience. It simply confirms that what many already suspect. Power changes hand, but privilege rarely leaves the room. Then there is the disgraceful label, squatter PM. Let's put this in plain talk and bad manners, since Cudjoe seems to hope the public forgets how our constitution actually works. A prime minister is not elected directly by the people. The people vote for members of parliament. The president then appoints a prime minister, the person who commands the support of the majority of those elected MPs. So if the sitting PM resigns or is replaced by their party, as happened when Eric Williams died and George Chambers became prime minister, I'm not sure if the date is correct, but I say that 1982, there was no requirement for an immediate general election. Chambers didn't face electorate until 2 years later. Was he too a squatter? Of course not, because that is how the system is designed to work, whether the person chosen is George Chambers or Stuart Young. If anything, the resignation of the then Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, and the appointment of Stuart Young is an example that the Constitution still works. To pretend otherwise is either dishonest or deliberately misleading. Cudjoe now praises the UNC as a multiracial vehicle of conscience, but the reality tells a different story. Despite all the talk of inclusion, there has been a glaring lack of diversity on the board's appointment thus so far. For a party that claims to be breaking barriers, it seems that they are simply building new ones with different faces at the top. Representation is not the same as justice. Multiracial leadership cannot be reduced to political photo ops or selective appointments. It must reflect itself in actual power sharing, inequity, and in access. Until then, it's just optics. Cudjoe once challenged all governments. Now any criticism is dismissed as stupid talk. But Mali wonders about men like this. Until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race, the dream of lasting peace will remain but a fleeting illusion to be pursued but never attained. So don't quote Cornerstone to dress up patronage as prophecy. This ain't supper time. This is still war. And I guess the person is talking political war. Selwyn Cudjoe was on the board of Central Bank under the People's National Movement. He did love up the PNM then. And then the UNC come and move him like a dog when they come in 2010. But he sing like a dog. In my opinion, on hands and knees, he get back inside now. He on the board of directors for CAL, getting a stipend and free flights. I want to tell people who are singing for supper, who's singing more than you, and calling Minister Stuart Young as squatters at PNM. The Constitution was used. So if you have a problem with that, then only change the Constitution. You piece and filth. My opinion. Let me continue. Look at next piece of, in my opinion, filth is this one. Kevin Cato, if you know that the Rowley PNM government use CPEP workers to do money laundering, take it to the police. Like the drip will coming out your CAR, WHOLE, like it's starting to infect your brains. Go and get some antibiotics or something for that yellow drip, like I hear it smelling. If you have evidence of that, You take it to the police because all they have evidence, all they have information about everything now. Take it to the police now. You better delete your post before other people see it, because that there, you know what it is just put there? You know what it is just put there, Kato? Anyway, let me continue. Labour Minister concerned, or if somebody, Val, if you're on, take a picture, it one order for me and send it for me. Take a picture and go put it on Facebook to show you how the mind thinking. Labour Minister concerned about recent job losses. Labour Minister concerned about recent job losses. This was in the Guardian 20 hours ago. Minister of Labour Small and Micro Enterprise Development Liberty says any worker who loses his or her job is concerned him. Shut your ass, Leroy Baptiste. What concern you concern? That is your government that you fight to get in. That all went around and tell public officers to vote for UNC because negotiation will start at 10%. How is that coming along? Hush your ass, but you can concern about what? Leroy Baptiste is concerned about Leroy Baptiste. All they get all they want, all they get WASA save, all they get the TTRS scrap. And as I was always said, I have no problem with all they and all the WASA because they come from WASA. Don't tell me not much you concerned about no workers, but it's looking a kind of way, so you have to jump in and say something because 10,005 one way, and then the rest make up to 20,000. So it's looking a kind of way. How can you concern? When he was in PSA as the president, nobody voted for you coming through the back door. It was alleged salary $50,000 a month. That your lunch bill every day was $500 a day. You're driving the best vehicle, best car. You take loan from which one of them bank? Either Royal or one of them bank. With the money, with the money all borrow, the money you take. When all they talk, so they blast it down, should have come out almost and twist wrong and all they can say not again. He made a comment to Guardian Media after being asked to comment on last week's announcement that Look News and Sportmax will be shut down, which will result in nearly 100 people across the region, including TNT nationals, losing jobs. I'm concerned with the retrenchment of any and all workers. I do not know who wouldn't be. A worker, that is how he takes care of his family through his job, and that is a major concern to me always. You hear what he's concerned about? He's concerned about 100 people where Look News and Sportmax shut down. Nothing wrong in that, because I empathize with anybody losing their job. Why you talk on the 10,500 CPEP workers who your government just so? With no warning, just fire just so. But no, we don't care about them. Them is PNM people, them is African people. So to punish them and suffer them, they could talk about the 100 people from Sportsmac and Look News. Again, I empathize with anybody losing their job. So take it in context in what I'm saying. I am concerned with the retrenchment of any and all workers. I don't know who wouldn't be. A worker, that's how he takes care of his family through his job. That is a major concern to me always. On whether government could perhaps absorb the affected Look workers in any possible areas, the minister said he would have to do research on this issue before making any pronouncement. However, Baptiste reiterated that he sees his job as protecting people's job. Father, Papa God, Most High, Papa God, oh Jesus. As far as I can do, and surely to help persons, because a job is everything to a worker. This is all that he has. This is his way of taking care of himself and his family, without which we create a situation that is unhealthy for the society, not just for himself, he reiterated. Regarding the reason for the closure, the Judicial, in a news release, said it had reflected a strategic shift away from customer-facing media towards scalable enterprise-grade service under digital business. I want to hear much what them have to say. I just wanted to hear who it is. the Labour Minister, this piece of filth, in my opinion, who his concern was about 100 workers from Digital and Loop News, but 10,500 from CPEP, they're fired just like that, adding up to 20,000 from agriculture, from forestry, from land and settlement and all that. You ain't talk nothing about them. We talk about 100 workers from Loop and Cinemax. And we study how it will affect them, how it affecting the 10,000. All you see all these people and care about all the boy? Eh? All you take chain up when when everybody wins. And quotas yellow, some all ain't go and vote, some say I ain't voting, some say the PNM just like UNC, some say we can't vote for no white man in we party, some say the PNM is a black party, some say I'm fed up a Rowley, I'm fed up at this one, that one, and all allow these people to come in, hear what this Minister Labour talking about. He's not talking about the 10,000 CPEP workers. The 10,500 CPEP workers, they're not talking about them at all, because as far as they're concerned, them black and the poor and this PNM. Right? Them don't care. And guys who always sit back and allow these people to come back into office. PNM would have ever fired 10,000 or 20,000 workers? Never. They keep talking about the 5,000 workers who wasn't fired, retrenched from the refinery. Then I tell all how much billion was put aside to pay VSEP. Then I tell how much VSEP they get. Then I said all their land was put aside for them, but as OWT, you have to go and do their part to negotiate for the people that get their land. Look, recently, one of the OWT workers, the Petrotrin workers who got retrenched, he said the land they were supposed to get. When he inquired about it as OWT, you have to do what they have to do for them to get the land. So the land is there. OWT and do what they have to do based on what I was told. They get monies. Permanent workers get their monies. It wasn't small money they get. Those who weren't permanent, they get whatever money based on whatever salary they had. So they could never bring forward no refinery. And just like when they closed Caroni, that wasn't making money, a drain on the treasury, a drain on the citizens, where they was putting all kind of iron and all kind of thing inside the vehicle to make it seem like the weight of the cane is plenty. All that going in Caroni. Who was the workers in Caroni? It was mostly people of Indian descent. And when this government, the PNM government, well, Thailand, Tatan, Lilo, whatever the name, walk away from that, they bought Caroni, that had become Caroni in 1978, or wherever that was, to save 5,000 workers, mostly East Indian people. And then when they couldn't carry it no more, because just like the refinery, they offer these VSEP packages. The most VSEP money, people, retrenchment package, the biggest retrenchment package in the history of Trinidad and Tobago and anywhere in the Caribbean. That's what Caribbean people get. They get land to do agriculture and build house. They get land with not to sell to do agriculture, they sell the land. The UNC come in and change the contract to where they could sell the land. It wasn't to be sold, it wasn't for agriculture. And then they say the PNM, just like UNC. Eh? But they want, but you know who? They ain't want their nothing? The CPEP worker, because there's an ordinary man and woman from Laventille or from a poor area in South, and there's a black woman or a black man. It's a mother who had children and no father, or a father had children, no mother or family with the children. So them is PNM people. You could treat them how you want. So just talk about the 100 people who get Lego from Loop News and Sportmax, 100. And you ain't talking nothing about the 10,000. The 10,500 and the 20,000 and all who get fired by this wicked and evil government that the Rebels are part of. But again, birds of a feather are flocked together. As for Miss Felicia Thomas, I see something going wrong with the same as Julie Johnson. I don't know the woman say that, but I just want to say something. I hear some conversation, she's saying that we get in, like Felicia Thomas, we're going to get a back pay in October. I want only to ask Felicia Thomas this, public officers, because like always a sleeping giant all in business. If we get in a back pay, so what period? Because the government can't just come and give you a back pay just now. It has to be based on something. Because the regulation and the law still states every 3 years of negotiation, the representing union go and collectively bargain for the group of workers who are part of the union in front of the CPO. So what period are they getting back pay for? Is it for 14, 15, 16? Is it for 17, 18, 19? Or is it for 20, 21, 22? Or 22, 23, 24, 25? Which period are we getting it for? Is it for the whole 10, 12 years? What are we getting it for? Because the last time I checked, I think I understand the matter come out the 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 period, they come out of the special tribunal. I don't know if it's going back in front of the CPO. That had to be negotiated first. When that finished negotiated, then you have to move on to 17, 18, 19. And when that finished, you're moving on to 20, 21, 22. That's how it is done. That is how it is done. So when we get in the back pay, don't let Felicia Thomas and them fool all there, you know. It is alleged, if you see the WASA board, ask if she know anybody in the WASA board. Ask if things in fixed guma for she. It have another conversation again. I ain't even want to tell all about. Let me tell all something, eh? Them cuckoo fix, you know. Them never care about public officers and them all care about WASA workers only, you know, and they get what they want. So public officers on their own, because she's dumb as a doornail. She can't do nothing without liberties. She can't do, you know what I'm saying? She can't do nothing. She don't have enough intelligence to do nothing in labor unless he intells she. And he right now, he's a government minister. He don't have time with she. So she's saying, I want to see what public officers going to do. I want to see public officers going to sit down quiet and let this little girl continue to fool them. hey, all your good, yes. So 10,500 CPEP workers along with others making it 20,000 or so get fired. Friday was a pay week. I hear they didn't get they was to get them out a month money or something, they didn't get no money. Who does do the most shopping? Because you know them getting them as daily rated workers, they getting the money in a fortnight. Once it's fortnight, they have to shop, they have to do the groceries, the little market, everything for their family. So if you send home 20,000 people, no pay, they can't shop. And if they can't shop, it means the place going to be quiet and goods out there and nobody to buy, right? It have a trickle-down effect, you know. It have a trickle-down effect with this thing, you know. So you have mothers out of work, fathers out of work. So the children can't get food to eat, bills can't pay, people could be facing eviction, people could be facing courts and all them things to take back all the furniture, wherever it is. People could be facing disconnection from TNTech, from WASA, from all these kind of places. So what they want to create? All they don't just say the face of crime is the black person. All they love the ball is poverty does make people go and thief and rob. So if I was to follow that philosophy all they have, you lay off 20,000 people just for no money. What them 20,000 people going and do? Them are households, you know. So that 20,000 people can span out about 100,000 people, you know. And that 100,000 make up a family members who depend on them 20,000. What am I going to do? If all you say poverty is what has caused crime, and all they make these people poor just so. What's supposed to happen now with nothing in sight? Eh? Is it a plan? Was it a plan all along? So that all they can bring in stand your ground laws? I just asking a question. Is it a plan to show crime would have increased and people frightened and all that? So stand your ground needed now? So are you going to ask a question? Will it be Negroes just being shot just like that? Asking a question. Because I can't understand the philosophy behind firing 20,000 people. All that says African people committing all the crime. All they say poverty is what has made African people go and thief and a man go and thief and all that. And they put all these people 20,000 on the breadline. No money to buy the children's school books, food, pay the bills, nothing at all. What are they supposed to do? So the landlord who they're renting from will say, girl, when our boy, whenever you get money, or here we're going on a pass me some punky now. If you pass me punky, you could stay at 2 months. What are they encouraging here? Prostitution? What are they encouraging thieving? What are they encouraging more crime? Asking that question, that reality. So they don't run from that talk. What are they expect them 20,000 workers who lost their work just like that? What will they expect them to do? If they have a problem with the contracts and them deal with the contractors, Because I understand it's not the contractors that pay the workers, it's the CPEP that pay them. Continue paying the workers that they do the work because CPEP does work. CPEP workers does work hard. Continue paying them to do the work and straighten out the contract and them. Why you affect the life of all these people and talking about all the like children and for the children, all the blast them wicked. Look what a man tape happening in Shogunas. Let me see if I can open up.
Today is Saturday, July the 12th, and look at the place. No money, people not shopping, look at it. When Rowdy was in power, we used to still get a little thing to go by, now we ain't getting nothing for the day, and selling $100. Look at the place. That vendors sit down doing nothing. Right? People not buying nothing for them. We shop on a Saturday. Look how it is. Camera release a little money, let people spend that girl. People have nothing here, people suffering. Where's that thing pack up there? People have books to buy, release a little money in a camera. Where you moving so girl? The people put you there for betterment, but the betterment you get in there, nothing doing. Do something like girl.
You see again how respectful let us be? It was Dr. Oreo be cussing him, Oreo, Bobby Ware, all kind of nasty thing ain't got it. But what can I get release some money now? Release some money now. You're so respectful let us be although they're suffering. What the money gonna release how? How are you gonna release the money? In order to release the money, you have to hire back the workers. Yeah? They're fooling the workers and tell them how they go hire back all them things. So when I as a contractor, a new contractor get a contract, or they could tell me who to hire and who not to hire. Eh? Stop fooling people. But you know, again, we asked all the April the 29th, who all want to answer the phone, come up and Salvi Sessa or Stuart Young. I'm sure if Stuart Young was there, 20,000 people would not go home. They want to talk about corruption. Everything is corruption.
One minister who was, he called himself what? HNIC, head nigger in charge. He was publicly threatening to leave the government while he was chairman of the party. If this contract was not awarded, and the minister under pressure that day was Winston Duker and the Minister of Finance, who was, if I guess it, was going down the line of the normal government procedure of looking for funding to underwrite the project. International concessionary funding or whatever it is. But the Minister of Works and Transport said, get me the money from the treasury now or I go. And they couldn't allow to have him go because he was so important. And the project was funded from the treasury directly. $1 billion in cash paid to a foreign contractor.
Right? That has come in with serious information. Don't forget UNC corruption, the PP government corruption. That is coming with serious information, right? Not what they're telling you now. Not what they want to tell you now, just over here.
Ain't we joking? When we came into office, we made a contract being processed and advanced. It was advanced for award, but it got into a bacchanal during the election season. It was the Cudjoe interchange. You remember that project? It was being advanced for $521 million. And the reason why it wasn't awarded was because a cat fight broke out between ministers. 2 ministers were in a fight. One got fired, and then the contractors threatened to sue the government. Inside the election season, the government held its hand, the contract wasn't awarded, thank God. They offered the contractors some appeasement. They said, we will break the contract up into 2 pieces, so none of you should have to sue. We'll give one the northern part of the road, we'll give one the piece over the highway, and we'll give one the piece on the southern side of the highway. But time didn't permit that to happen, that piece of madness. The election came, and the government was changed. We came into office. We scrapped all of that. and we put the contract out to competitive tender. It is now common knowledge and history that the Current interchange was built by this PNM government for $219 million. And the question you all have to ask yourselves, if the contract could have been built for $219 million, and that included an additional piece of lay-by road going from west to east, that wasn't in the original plan. The budget was $225 million. It came in under budget, $219 million. The question you need to ask yourself is who was getting that extra $300 million? And that was on one overpass. So you could imagine what the price was on a $5 billion highway.
Right? They want to talk about corruption, CPEP, and all this kind of thing, which is totally, and again, I am not condoning no corruption and all that. If them are evidence, let them take it to the police. I'm talking about, they come in and only talking about corruption in CPEP, corruption here, corruption there. But up to now, I can't see a pathway to how they're going to take this country and economy forward. You ain't hear nothing, you see nothing. We know, I heard they went to the World Bank to borrow money. Where they're going to get money to pay this, and people say it's 10%. It's not 10%. They said the starting point of negotiation will be from 10%, meaning that when they go and sit down in front of the CPO, the employer, who is the government, say them can offer 10%. And the union had to sit and negotiate with them, because the union might say we want 15% or we want 20% as a negotiation. So there was never no conversation that public officer will get no 10%. Again, that was misunderstood or deliberately put to people to make them feel so. That is starting point of negotiation, so it means negotiation has to go on. You have to go and sit before the CPO. When is that going to start? To be telling people shit about back pay. The thing is just say let's get back pay? Eh? Them could just give people back pay just so. What are they going to do about the other unions who already signed off on the negotiation and all that? So them can take them to court to get extra money and all that. The government will want all that on the head. Where they getting money from? They're not telling you where they're getting money from. They stop property tax. They shut down TTRA. They ain't taxing nobody. They ain't doing this. Only borrowing. You could keep borrowing, so when they come and say that the economy in a mess, when economists were telling them that 10% and all the things often is unrealistic. So is this a diversion to talk about PNM corruption and all kind of thing? So people went, oh yeah, boy, PNM was real corruption, and then going ahead doing what they had to do. Because what they're doing? What they're doing? Let me continue with this. I remember this lawyer, Mr. Joel Ramdeen. It wasn't him and Mr. Debadine. I think it was on something with taking money from prison gate. The thing with cut and paste and all them things. It wasn't Mr. Ram. I'm just asking, wasn't Mr. Ramdeen? Okay. Attorney Joel Ramdeen has been appointed chair of the state-owned National Gas Company, NGC. Gademida understands he received his appointment letter earlier today. Ramdeen replaces Dr. Randy Ramadar Singh, who served as lead director for just under a month. Cabinet sources say no reason was given for the revocation of Singh's appointment. Ramdeen had previously been named as Singh's replacement when Singh was first appointed on June the 4th. However, that initial move was reversed after objections from several ministers during a cabinet meeting. So Joel Ramdeen has now been appointed to the chairman of NGC, or National Gas Company. Nobody in finance have a problem with that end. Nobody have a problem with that. But you fired 10,500 CPEP workers because all they said the contractor's contract was given days before the election, and some contractor, something with the business wasn't registered, however the case may be. But back in 2016, when Dr. Ruran Mulila was asked about that same thing, because they were giving contractors in CPEP the day of the election in 2015 and just days before. He said nothing wrong in that, I'm paraphrasing, nothing wrong in that. That gave them tenure, that making them, make sure they have something, But the pay them do it is corruption. And all this, some of this thing, don't then allow them to be saying those things and doing these things and not defending. I want to say this. We're ending with this. The opposition, People's National Movement. I have a business who bought who they're talking about the PNM and you have to talk about them, because them ain't doing nothing. Everybody keeping a press conference. Presser. You're not seeing the opposition leader. The chairman of the party is to keep press conference to treat with party issue. Not to treat with national issue. The person to treat with national issues is the opposition leader and directed to whoever minister she assigned the thing. In the absence of that, all we've seen is everybody else keeping press conference and she ain't talking and saying nothing. All these things happening. Yes, you all came out to say you're going to support the workers from CPEP. Okay, but I'm not the only issue it has. Look at all the other issues. We ain't hearing nothing. PNM has gone silent. I have never seen a PNM opposition the time I know around looking at PNM that is so docile. When we say the opposition leader, we call it getting offended and all that, but you're seeing it. You're seeing it, you're not seeing anything. Nothing is happening. For instance, Dr. Ruran Mulila is not the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, writing all kind of thing and all kind of thing. Who is the person supposed to come out with the information on a platform, on a PNM platform, to make sure he let people know what Ruran Mulila is saying, if they have no truth in it, or it's misinformation, or whatever it is. Not Stuart Young, who's the member of Parliament for the Spinal Sentence West. He's supposed to be there to take on, when I say take on, but answer back to the misinformation if Ruran Mulila is putting on misinformation. Huh? Ruran Mulila put not always saying this and whatever it is. Where's Stuart Young? I understand that my member of Parliament, when they have meeting, they don't tell him nothing. He does only say it when they come out in an advertisement. So there's a heavy speaker, a heavy hitter they don't have. Where Dominic Romaine? Same thing, I understand that's happening with him. An ex-dynamic speaker, he may be new as a member of Parliament, but he knows social media, he knows the topics, he knows how to handle scene, he done the research and all that. So what shit do they want to be telling me about one love and one party what to bring back? Bring back with who? Who them have they could bring back any PNM in office? And all they sit down comfortable and talking to those say those things, those say only PNM give her a chance and all that song and just like how the UNC the song with Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Kamla Prasad Bisesa, all we seen she physically weak, based on certain information we get. But she has strength when she talking and all that. On the next side, the opposition leader, he had no strength in she speech, nothing at all. She might be physically strong, but she had no strength in she speech. When she speak, you don't feel to do nothing. Why all they don't understand that? All they force the opposition leader on people. And why I'm saying all they force her? Because 13 people win the seats. Member of Parliament win the seats. 13. Let me see if I can call them by heart. Let me see. MP Commonwealth, MP Noriega, MP Hansi Fiends, MP Burchill, MP Marcel, MP Dominic Romaine, MP Stuart Young, MP Camille Robinson Regis, MP Penelope Beckers, MP Dr. Naim Daligaspi, MP Brian Manning, MP Marvin Gonzalez. And who I'm missing? One other person, Burchill, MP Burchill, 13. And is the member of Parliament who commands the support of the members of parliament, the losing party will choose the opposition leader. 13 of you all. But only had a meeting with 6 people. Penelope Beckers and 6 others. 6 out of the 13. And between these 6 and 1-7, all they choose Penelope Beckers. That's forcing Penelope Beckers on people, boy. Well, then give the next 6, Dominic Romaine, Stuart Young, Camille Robinson-Regis, I think Hans Devines, if I'm not mistaken, I think Burchell, if I'm not mistaken. And there's one other person I won't forget him, or Com Ember, but he I don't think he was up, I think he was wherever. But the point I'm making is the salient point. Or they force Shian people, because it wasn't the 13 always sit down and make a decision that she would be the opposition leader. So they force Shian we, and then she turned around to be telling people, nobody can tell she went to talk, and she wouldn't be like no dog chasing after every car. And every time you look, is Marvin Gonzalez, the chairman of the PNM, having press conference, or the PRO, Faris Alwari, who didn't win his seat, having a press conference, or you may see Foster Cummins, Senator Foster Cummins, who didn't win his seat neither, having a press conference with the political leader and with the opposition leader. That's all they intend to go down, all the ostracizing Stuart Young, all the ostracizing Dominic Romaine. So all they're really doing, all the marking time, and nobody mustn't say nothing at all. This is the worst opposition that the PNM ever had. And people just contented with that. And say, oh, well, she go surprising. We don't want no surprises. Look at things happening and you're not hearing nothing. Look at things happening, not hearing nothing. You're not hearing anything. And what? So I listen. I said, man, Rhonda, me are no big pain, I'm not, I just an ordinary person looking on the scene. And I tell them all, yeah. Okay, I seen a red report, I don't know how true. Opposition leader Penelope Beckers ditches national duty as she sneaks out of the country for John party at Prospect Park, Brooklyn, New York. Seems CPEP workers no longer important to people. I don't know if this is true or not. Somebody just send it to my phone. Because somebody confirm if this is true. If it's true, she supports us first thing about saying the woman can't go and have a good time. They will come up with all kind of excuse. Yeah. And the real excuse, or not the real excuse, the real thing, to say that she's a weak opposition leader. She's not commanding the respect of the population. She's not even commanding the respect of the people that she has around her because she's disrespecting them too. They seem anything like it goes, anything, and no cohesion, no cohesiveness, nothing at all. You don't have Stuart Young there to talk to on a platform, to talk on energy matters. You don't have Dominic Romaine to talk on any matter. Minister of Finance, put it to treat to the Minister of Finance, Dave Tanko. Dominic Romaine mashing up that. Stuart Young mashing up the energy sector thing. You don't have them there. And all they want to be a strong opposition by 2030. Don't miss me with all the bullshit. And all of us are cussing people that they know. All would be cussing me and making video and cuss me. They know to themselves that Penelope Beckers weak. They know that. They know very well I ain't doing nothing wrong. They know that. But I have to sit with them conscience. That has nothing to do with me. I have to sit with them. That has nothing to do with me. Again, I'm saying, the PNM needs to step up. And with that opposition leader, You will continue
That
to
nothing
take,
to do with.
you continue to take yellow bamboo. Yeah, she's lacking charisma, and not everybody have their own strengths and their weaknesses. Hers is not as an opposition leader, no political leader. She does not have the oomph. She does not have it. Why don't you go admit that and try and do something about that, boy? The woman boring, and it's not because I dislike her being real. People go say I loud, and I know I loud. People go say I feel like this. Oh, yeah, whatever. You have to know your strength, you have to know your weaknesses. But apparently she ain't know nothing. She's not making an impact. For the almost 3 months now, the PNM is in opposition. There's no impact in anything. People really want to see Faisal Salwari have no press conference. He didn't win a seat. Go in the PNM meeting and them on a executive meeting and talk there. People want to see members of parliament to win the seat. And the next thing, why you're not having meeting in the constituency that you win? Why the opposition leader not having meetings in Arima? You win a seat in Arima. Why you only having meetings across in constituency where you win? Why you not going up in your constituencies that people could come out and get the support because it's a member of parliament who's the opposition leader and political leader at PNM? Go in Arima and have meetings and be around them. I just asked it, listen, because you know you don't really have that kind of support. I just asked a question. But all they want to ask no question, nothing, and don't say nothing, and whatever it is. All they studying all the children and grandchildren now. All they studying all our grandchildren now. It's a joke about. This UNC on steroids, you know. They mean care, you know, and that what they don't understand, no. They mean care, you know. Them just doing whatever the hell they want. They give an opinion. They just yell what they want, you know. Them ain't had time, you know. Them they know. Them liking themselves, you know. Now and then they keep a meeting, they fly out, they come and talk all kind of thing that ain't connecting or making no blasted sense. So the pet thing now is corruption. Carry to the police now. How they carry to the police yet? The Minister of Sports. Corruption. You and the man have all the personal, I just saying. All they must have all the personal, deal it out now. You're coming to stop all the youth programs. You think that hurting the man who you have ACs, so that ain't hurting he? That's hurting the children, the young people who your prime minister say she care about the young people. Giving them tablet alone, making sure all first formers have a tablet. That is something. That mean you care? What about all the programs for the youth and them? What about one of the ministers going to the launching of the holistic pan thing that the president do? All I scaring. Why you fire 10,500 CPEP workers? 20,000 and all from agriculture, forestry and other areas. I mean, if you care. They don't care. In my opinion, it's to put their own people there. That's what they does do. Or let us complain the PNM don't get the people nothing. Now you're hearing that PNM get contractors, instead of they're happy and say, well, yeah, boy, once they're doing the work proper and thing, and once they get thing, no seed. Instead of that, all they want to jump and go on to get corruption, but what they really want and should buy. The PNM do, or they complain. The PNM ain't do, or they still complaining. What I got for Dr. Raleigh, this opposition, PNM, they go on platform and they start the floodgate for everybody else to continue to disrespect Dr. Raleigh, because them was disrespecting Dr. Keith Christopher Raleigh, a man who gave all of them the political career. And then want to talk about one. Now, how you could bring that, how you could mesh the two together? How you well, they feel just like the UNC gone into office and realized it is so easy, you know, it works now to govern, you know, because the money that they had in 2010 to 15, they had money, oil prices was over 100 and something US dollars a barrel, you know, they had money like that, you know, so it's easy to do all kind of thing, and people just throw some money, they say, color me orange and a little thing there and baby grant, all them kind of thing, and think they eat and da. Now they come into governance, that's wrong. The oil prices, gas running out, you had to go and negotiate for contracts and all that. Them ain't able with this, you know. So very soon, the little money that it has circulating, the money that we getting from the new way that MP Cudjoe, when he was Minister of Energy, would have negotiated for our gas, different than anything the Henry Hubs or wherever the case may be. When that little money started dwindling down and where we get a little here and a little touch there, nothing to replace it. Is IMF we going on? Is IMF we going on? And just like the poem of Martin Molyneux, I think that's the name, is a German pastor who wrote when they came for us, and he speak about when they came for the trade unions, they said nothing. They came for the communists, they said nothing. They came for this one, that one, that one. And when they come for you, turn over the public officers, or they keep silent. And when you see make a attack back and come for all you, let me hear what they go say. PLM people, or they stay silent. And when the UNC continue to do all what they do, there's nobody to check them, and all they have is, we support me, we political leader, she's a woman, and she deserves it, and Dr. Rowley was a bully, and all they continue with that shit talk. And see where we go reach with that. Let me just call some names, and I want to play a video quick before I go. So on Bounce Up Central, I want to thank everybody. 245, thank you all for giving support. Thank you for letting people know that I do have substance, I do have content. Yeah? People feel when you have 500 people watching and 1,000 people watching and that you reach. I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy with my little crew. Yeah? Because each one could go and tell one and spread the word. And I know that all they here to listen to hear the information, not just for no entertainment. I might be entertaining sometimes, but I know it's not about the entertainment. Or they come in because all they know I have something to share, right? And sometimes you'll be surprised when they bring in these kind of information to people. Plenty people don't log on. They just go in the bacchanal and confusion. They go see plenty in there. When they come into serious thing, you ain't gonna see much people. But that will deter me, right? So on Bounce Up Central, I want to thank the director as usual for having me on the platform. I want to say good evening to Miss Payne, Miss Walcott, Miss Moses, Miss Joycelyn White, Mr. Gibson, Patty Cudjoe, Sedina Kwashi. I tell you, the conversation will be hot, you know. Let me see who again. Atia, I think that's how I pronounce it. Marge, Javid or David. Let me see who again. Hi, Val, Julie Mango, Ansel. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. Mr. Rima, Eric, Papa, yo. Let me see who again. I just want to have Mr. Guest. Yeah, Val, everybody. All Miss Jones, AULDITH. I'm not able to all you know. She is very weak. I would like to see Cudjoe as yes, darling. We want to see him on the platform. Who again? I think that crew from Tobago, Cheryl and James. Who is Mr. Rima? But J.H. Marshall, Sam. Who is this? Who is Sam, you know? Okay. So let me go across the thank you all on Bounce Up Central. Thank you all so much. Before I go to look at how much people on, I think let me just play this. Well, look at what all here. Some are all here. Decide all they ain't going and vote. And all they create in this place, these people come up. You know, listen to this.
Really understand what we've done from independence to now and the role that the People's National Movement has played in the development of Trinidad and Tobago, you would understand the exceptionally bright future we in Trinidad and Tobago have ahead of us under the PLM. Our history will show that all of the great steps, leaps and bounds forward have all been under the PNM. I am proud of the role that this party has played, the leadership role in CARICOM from inception to now, the role that this PNM has played in the global energy sector, with the vision that our forefathers had in the 1970s, creating the Point Lisas estate and moving us to a gas-based industry. That was ahead of our time, and that was a global move, again, done by the PNM. What you've seen us do in the last few years, maneuvering under a great leader, Dr. Rowley, is to now have a future with cross-border gas, a future as a continued leader in the region, working with our CARICOM sister countries. It is only a PNM government and the leadership of the People's National Movement that can achieve these great things. We're not the populist type. PNM will govern properly, taking the hard decisions, but always ensuring that we're building a better Trinidad and Tobago, no matter how difficult it is. And that is the beauty and the strength of the PNM. So join us. Be part of the movement. A movement that's existed now for over 6 decades, with a constitution and structure. Be part of the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. We shall prevail.
That is what somehow they give up on. For UNC, 3 months yet and send on 20,000 workers on the lower economic, socio-economic ladder. That is what they give up our energy, our vibes. We seeing things was happening. Look, the man who made the thing down in Chagwana say at the under Rowley, we should still get something as small as it is. People saying that now, or they give up all that, some or they give up all that, boy. Some from in the PNM, it is alleged went wrong and telling people don't vote PNM, boy. PNM is a black party. And even if the laws are going to come back, because we make it to 33, they say some people in PNM was doing that, going to PNM constituency and talking that, boy. They want to give up the UNC in office now, where 20,000 workers get sent home. And an opposition leader, what we are seeing at all. Where they say, I don't know, she out somewhere in foreign, in some party, in a time like this, when children home on vacation, 10,000 parents in hand work. They know where they get a meal from. They should go into constituency and help to give out some hampers or do anything. Did the other members of parliament do anything? Them up and down and around. Should have went in the constituency and do anything? Giving law advice is one thing, but they can't eat law advice. What other things are they putting in place? But you, if it is true, I don't know true, madam opposition leader, you're out there partying. You come for the work or you come to party online. This ain't no halfway thing, you know. This is real thing with real issues and real people and real problems, you know. So let's sit down there and look to cost me. Well, let's see the thing ain't going good at all. Or let's see what the UNC doing. It ain't nothing to do with me. Angela, Kim, Alicia, Rudy, Carol, Gail, Diane, Sherman, Marcia, Jamal, Rosemary, Yolande, Lisa, Alice, Teresa, Erica, Jillian, Gretel, Owen, Rena, Leslie, Shelton, Mona, Joseph, Cynthia, Diamond, Trini, Jewel, Sandra, Augusto, Sadie, Angela Rodriguez, Lacroix, Anne-Marie, Jenny, Olive, Joanne, Candice, Merle, Inatia, Brian, Richard, Cheryl, Allison, Natalie, Leno, Roy, Bolty, Sandra, Patsy, Sandra, Margaret, Cheryl, Marcia, Donna, Hazel, Margaret, Katia, Raymond, Felician, Joycelyn Small White, E.A. Shorty, Hadara, Maria Figaro Leonard, Mary, Charles, the whole family from Pune, Emmeline, Kevin, Cato, Even Cato and all give you a shout out. You know, at the end of the day, I'm sure you had children. I'm sure you may have grandchildren, you may have nieces and nieces. And the way you, when you sit in a quiet moment, you know very well. Hi, Robert. You know very well that what the UNC doing is not right. You ain't bound to like the PNM. But you know if it's in 3 months yet and these things happening, we ain't going nowhere fast. You know that. And if you can't think, or your nieces or your nephews or probably your children or your cousins, them young ones, and study that this UNC will not make a proper future for them, and then is a beast. You know, I telling you, Kevin Cato, then is a beast. He ain't human. So I want to say again, Zara, she's the best person in the whole world to you. Only like mediocrity and only like people to mama guy, only and tell her choppiness. She is the worst opposition leader of the PNM. So she might be the best person in the world. For you, that is quite okay. She's the worst opposition leader, and the thing getting better. She weak. Zara O'Brien, the opposition leader, Mrs. Penalty, Beckers Robinson, she is weak. She cannot command the respect of this country to win nothing for the PNM. Don't you go on Facebook and see what they're saying, my dear? Don't you listen to radio announcers, what they're saying, my dear? Don't you listen to people in the community and all around this speaking? She's the worst. And I think she and all knows it. That can't take PNM back into the office. We're not disputing the fact she's a nice lady. Who's studying that? Nice lady ain't getting nowhere in politics. So again, I'm saying, all you know, the PNM has a constitution. Look at the constitution, know what could be done, can't be done, whatever the case, because the PNM can't continue so. Plain talk bad manners. The PNM can't continue so with a weak leader like Mrs. Penelope Beckers Robinson. It cannot. And if what they say no, they answer yes, they could continue so, I'm glad for you. Opposition for years and years and years to come. That's what I want. By that time, this country will look like Bollywood. By that time, this country will look like Little India, given an opinion based on how I see they behave. When the Indian Prime Minister came here, when it should be a national event, it was a Hindu-Indian event. Or they sit down and play with all the nationality. Sit down and play with this cosmopolitan country that we're in. Sit down and play with the love we have between each other, with the different races, the different ethnic groups, the different religious affiliations, and all of us, Muslim, Hindu, Baptist, Orisha, Rastafarian, Seventh-day, Jehovah's Witness, those small churches, you know, New World and all the different names they have and whatever, all of us here existing as one. You could say the same for India. Look at what has happened with Pakistan and India. They want to talk about that though. So let's sit down and take what we have in this country for granted, or let's take the PNM for granted. That's why the PNM out of office now, the UNC in office now. And all who want about the PNM just as corrupted as the UNC, or the wicked to all themselves. And all who are talking about, oh God, look at the contract, all these same people were saying PNM don't get the people, the activists, nothing. Now we're hearing that activists get contract where they can help themselves and help other people, all they saying that is corruption. When the UNC do it, all they say, oh, they're saying about the people. Oh, they be real, eh? And I saying it against Zaria, the opposition leader, she weak. She can't command no respect from nobody. Nobody don't feel, when she said great is the PNM, it was just shoots and turn away because it ain't even sung in. It ain't even sung in like you want to do it. It just. So you can wish as you want, click your heels, turn around 3 times like Dorothy and wish it away. You can't wish away. It's reality. So people, I love you all. See you all on Wednesday. Gospel, I come with something for something new. This is girl Jen, Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. If you want to get phone, it's Miss Jennifer Frederick and Marie Edition that we told the thing. And if anybody who listen to my life could go and tell people I dislike them and I this and that, then all them is the whole point of what I say. I want the PNM to be the best. I want the PNM to come with a fire. I want the PNM to put back a fire in the belly as we used to be under Dr. Rowley, as we used to be under Mr. Manning, as we used to be under Dr. Eric Williams, as we used to be under George Chambers, and for the short time under Stuart Young. Don't tell me they didn't have excitement. All the city love the man was getting is the young ones and them, you know. It's the young ones and them, you know, who will be voters coming up, first-time voters by 2020, 30, first-time voters. And them is the future, you know. And that is who was coming out. That is who was showing them the love and togetherness and love the vibes. Because he are part of that whole setting and he's struggling about towards 50 years old. All they want that, all they must get jealous when they see that because they can't go no way and get that kind of love. I tell them all they can't go no way and get that kind of love. No way. Or that support our young people. Or they can't go no way and get that. So, people, it are party groups, it have this, it have general council, it have all that. If all they want to just sit down and with all their hands full and say, oh God, what we gonna do? I'm glad for you. They gonna have more firings to come. And when they come home to you, those you know, when they look around, it ain't nobody because everybody else get fired. So people see all on Wednesday, God's gonna come with something fresh, something new. This is good Jen, Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny again. Love everybody. I'm out. Bye.